Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm making a 4th of July card using our new layered eagle and mountain set. I started off by die cutting the coordinating eagle die onto a piece of cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the rest of my eagle onto that die cut piece because I want to make sure that all parts of my eagle get die cut precisely. So I started by stamping the body in the third layer first in our dark roast dye ink, and then I stamped the second layer in our warm hazelnut dye ink, and then the second layer in our found topaz dye ink. For my eagle's head, I used our crystal pewter, which is our lightest gray ink in our pewter collection inks, and then for the tail, I used crystal pewter and smoky quartz. For the beak, I used our amber citrine, which is the darkest color in our citrine collection of inks, which is our yellows. And then for the eagle's feet, I used amber citrine and peach blossom. And then I just used black for the talons and for the eyes and the beak detail. Once everything was stamped out, you get this very detailed, realistic looking eagle. And I also just took the die cut out from the entire panel, and then I took the washi tape out that was holding it in place. Then I'm going to stamp my layered mountains using our pewter collection inks. Now you saw the crystal pewter and smoky quartz earlier. The third layer would be light onyx, which is the darkest hue in our pewter collection inks. And I'm using my mini Misti to stamp the mountains, but I'm using it just because the three stamps are pretty large size stamps. Our mountains are pretty easy to layer because all you need to do is line up the bottom and the bottom edge and the two corners. So it's very easy stamp set to layer, and I'm only using the mini Misti because the door of the Misti is large and can stamp nice large images. Next, I'm going to take the tree cluster and I'm going to stamp it right along the bottom of my mountain scene. And I'm also going to just use the single tree stamp to add a little bit where I think it should be fuller. Then I'm going to take the coordinating die and cut out the entire mountain scene. So you can see that there's a little bit of white space on the corner of my mountain scene. So I literally just kind of brushed that portion of the paper against my Noir dye ink pad, and that solves the problem. Next, I'm going to create a background that's going to go behind my mountain scene, and I have a piece of watercolor paper that's cut down to A2 size, and I spritzed it with water. And after I'm satisfied with the amount of water on there, I'm going to squeeze some color bursts onto the background, and I'm using Alizarin Crimson and Indigo for a patriotic look, since this is a 4th of July card. Now, I didn't have too much control over the way the pigments blended with each other, but the best way to obtain the maximum amount of control is experiment with the different amounts of water that you're spraying onto your paper, and you can also use a water brush or a paintbrush to help control the flow of that pigment. So once I was satisfied with the amount of color and blending that I had on my panel, I dried the entire panel with my heat gun. Once my panel was completely dry, I just flicked on some water drops right onto the panel. And then I'm going to take a dry paper towel and just put it right over the panel, and that's going to lift the color where the water drops are. Now, this happens because the watercolor paint is reactive to water. So once it dries, you can keep on flicking the water drops on there to get more of a texture. But I just did it once, and I was satisfied with the amount of texture that I had. Next, I created a top folding horizontal A2 card base, and I put strips of silver glitter paper at the top and bottom edges, and then I trimmed my watercolor panel 1/4 inch. Next, I'm going to pop up all of my stamped elements with some dimensional foam tape. I want to pop up the eagle over the mountains, so I make sure to put a double layer of foam tape behind the eagle where it rests above that patriotic background, and then only a single layer of foam tape where the portion of the eagle rests above the mountains so that everything is even and flush. Next, I'm going to stamp my sentiment banner in our Noir dye ink using our new basic banner set, and I'm using the Happy 4th of July sentiment from the add-on set. Once I stamped the sentiment, I die cut the entire banner using the coordinating die, and then I added some shading with some zig markers. I don't show the shading online because the camera was kind of far and you couldn't see that much detail. But I used haze blue and like a light gray to add shading on the banner, as you can see here if you look closely. So after I finished with the shading, I just popped the banner up right below my eagle, and that completes my card. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video, and I hope you all have a happy and safe holiday. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.